is absolutely wild. Let's just go with it, guys. My toggle switch is not on again, so I can't turn the chat on. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, has there just been, and I'm putting it out to everybody, has there just been an admission, has there just been an admission from the UK government that they can stop the boats? Has that just happened? Now, I'm putting it to you right now, and I'm going to share this article with everyone. I will share this article a couple of times. And my question is this: has there just been a government admission that they don't want to stop the boats, that they can quite easily stop the boats, but they just don't want to? So let me share this real quick. And this is from the BBC. So for you guys on TikTok, I know you can't see this, but I'm sharing this now. The UK can legally stop the Shadow Fleet tankers, ministers believe. So it turns out the government has identified a legal basis which it can be used to allow UK military to board and detain in so-called Shadow Fleet vessels. So it turns out when the government want to, right, when the government want to, they can look at existing legislation. I mean, where's the ECHR, right? Where's the ECHR in this? What about the human rights? Literally, what about the human rights of those people on those, on those shadow fleets? So it turns out the United Kingdom can, when they want to, when oil's involved, right, look at existing legal frameworks and say, we can interpret this like this. And this is what I've said from day one, ladies and gentlemen. The legal framework to stop the boats coming into the United Kingdom, it already exists. It's already there. It's just not being interpreted. Right, listen, guys, for some reason, I can't turn the chat on. They've changed. Normally, I have a button. So, Yata Garasua on YouTube is saying, who cares what the government says anymore? Can't be asked CBA to play the hunt the truth game in what they say. Well, I think it does matter. I think it really does matter because we are under the, we're under the command of the government, right? The British government are in charge and everything we do is, is under that legal framework, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Have we just seen an admission on the BBC? Have we just seen an admission on the BBC that the migrant crisis can be stopped? We don't need to leave the ECHR. We don't need any legal frameworks. Have we just seen inadvertently by the BBC that, when we want to stop vessels operating, we can quite easily do that? Has that just happened? Before I get there, guys, there's quite a few people on the chat, so let me jump over here. AJ Aesthetics is saying 55-year-old woman arrested in her home for a social media post on the UK riots that happened. It is bonkers. Listen, and if you're watching from another country and you don't know how bad things are in the UK, I'm genuinely right now. I mean, I'd never make stuff up, right? I'd never make stuff up, all right, and I'd never give I never tell people to do anything illegally. But even telling people to do things legally now is illegal. But if you guys have been watching me, I'm genuinely afraid of sharing things that are already out on open source social media. I'm genuinely worried about getting arrested for sharing things that are already out there in the open. And that's how bad things are in the UK. John Giles is saying the UK government couldn't stop a runny nose. D-Rejects says, say morning. And Darren Lemon, right, guys, I'm gonna continue in a second. Darren Lemon is saying the government can do anything they like. They create the laws, they change laws. Yeah, exactly, Darren. So listen, Darren, I'm gonna throw this question right back at you, Darren. I don't know if you're still on. So Darren, here's my question to you. And I agree with what you're saying. The government can do what they like. They create the laws. They can change the laws, right? So my question to you is, Darren, if something can be done and it's not being done, What's the only out? What's the only in the broadest stroke of the pen? What is the only reason why that is not being done? And then, in fact, final comment, guys, before I jump on. Vena Canva Red is saying, is that Vena Canva Red, I think, is saying, it matters, but we are powerless. Say or do anything, they will lock you up. Yeah, do you know what? That's a powerful statement, and it comes back to some of the things I've previously said. Here in the United Kingdom, we have no legal framework to protect ourselves against a tyrannical government. We do not, ladies and gentlemen. We have nothing. So like Vena is saying there, you know, like Venner is saying, you know, everything matters. But if you say anything, we're literally powerless because we don't have a constitution. Now, I get it. You know, people are going to think that we do have a constitution, but guys, listen, we really don't. So I'm going to share another article with you guys on YouTube if I can find my button. Right. For some reason, listen, guys, I've been doing loads of stuff this morning. Right. Where's this? Britain prepares to forcefully intercept. Sorry, Britain prepares forceful interception of shadow fleet tankers. Isn't it fascinating? Isn't it fascinating how quickly the government can find legal frameworks and legal loopholes to do things that would previously be that have previously been illegal when they want to do it? The article goes on and it talks about. I'm going to talk about this. I'm not going to share that article. I just like that picture. I think that picture is fantastic. So here in the United Kingdom, we are told that we can't stop the boats because of the European Court of Human Rights, or there's like a lot of reasons. I don't really understand them, you know, saying that we can't turn them back. But it turns out, and here's going to be the kicker, guys, okay? It turns out the government are planning to forcibly seize oil tankers. Now, listen, I'm not a Marine. I'm not. I've never been in the Marines. I would speculate that it's an order of magnitude easier to stop a rubber dinghy than it is to stop an oil tanker. I don't know. I'm not going to claim to be an expert. But I would say it's a lot harder actually to stop an oil tanker, right, than a rubber dinghy. So I think the capacity is there, right? So clearly the military capacity is there. The capacity to stop these tankers is there. Which leads you on to the next question, right? The political, what would be the political ramifications, for example? If the government in the United Kingdom said, right, we're putting the military on a skirmish line and we're going to stop the boats, what would be the political fallout? Well, people would all be cheering. People would all be clapping their hands, saying, "Well done, Prime Minister Starmer. You've done what the Conservatives never managed to do in 14 years. Fantastic, Keir Starmer." You know. So it's easy legally. We know this because the legal frameworks have just changed, right? Because they're doing this. Look, guys, and this is all speculation. This video is for entertainment purposes. The whole video is for entertainment purposes. Something on the roof. So legally, right? They found the legal framework to intercept these oil tankers. Okay, right, fair enough. Why can't you find that legal framework to stop the rubber dinghies? All right, fair enough, whatever. You've got the military capacity to do it, because I'm speculating, and again, like I said, I'm not, I've never done boat operations. It's an order of magnitude easier to stop an oil tanker than it is a rubber dinghy, right? And it's political dynamite. It will push you up in the polls. Okay, so you've got all those ticks in the boxes, and they're just like the logistical things, the social things. It will save the government millions in hotels, legal fees. It would, some might argue that it would make the streets safer. Obviously, I would never claim that migrants are at a higher likelihood to commit crime, guys. I would never do that. Everybody's equal in my eyes. Everybody's equal. So why is it not being done? Literally, why is it not being done? I don't know. I don't know. You can speculate that it's not being done because the government don't want to do it, and I think that in its broadest, terms, that's the reason why. Oh, Morphy's jumping up, and Morphy's saying, "I welcome the USA to support a UK military coup on our corrupt and listen." There's some words here I'm scared of saying because I'd get arrested. But Morph FX is basically saying he welcomes the US to support a military coup. You know when I said this was coming 2 years ago? Oh, it's a bit warm in here. You know when I said this was coming about 2 years ago? Can you remember the pushback I got? And people were saying, "Oh, that's never going to happen, Sean. That will never happen. Oh, no, not a chance." And I was like, guys, listen, be careful because I see this happening. I genuinely see this happening. And now we've literally got people screaming out for it. We've literally got people screaming out for US intervention here. Yeah, a couple of people are jumping on this. Right, let me get this up. 55-year-old woman arrested for social media. Right, let me get this up. Right, I'm not getting anything in the mainstream media about that, guys. No, I'm not getting anything. The only thing I'm getting something from the 8th of August. I'm getting nothing recently, guys, about this 55-year-old woman arrested for. If you can tell me where that's, if you can tell me where that is, we'll talk about that. Right, listen, guys, let's get back on track. Okay, let's get back on track, everyone. So, has the government just admitted? That the basically has the government just admitted that they can stop the boats, the rubber dinghies I'm talking about, but they don't want to. Hang on. Obviously, what I'm talking about is the new news, and I'll start this now, guys. Actually, I'll start this as the new news. So the UK government has reportedly, again, if you've been following this channel for a while, right, they're saying the same phrases that I say, and this shows you how far ahead of everyone else that we are, right? This shows you how far ahead we are of everyone else. So the UK government has identified a legal basis or a legal loophole under the Sanctions and Money Laundering Act 2018 that it believes allows the military, potentially with special forces involvement, to board, inspect, and detain vessels belonging to the so-called Shadow Fleet. And I'll talk about the Shadow Fleet in a second. Shadow Fleet, Dark Fleet, Black Fleet, So if they can look at the, and this is what, again, there's so much stuff about this right now that should be absolutely bounding alarm bells. First of all, those people that say we have a constitution in Britain, we don't. We have a series of documents that form the English constitution, and those documents are open to interpretation. Oh, but Sean, those are going to be interpreted by the best lawyers, and it's always going to be the same. No, it's not always going to be the same, because what we've just seen is the UK government using Sanctions and Anti-Money Laundering Act 2018 to forcibly seize oil tankers. So if the government can re-identify and reinterpret these things, these laws, why haven't they stopped the boats? And that's the fundamental question that I'm going to keep asking today, guys, okay? If the government can reinterpret these laws and stop oil tankers, why haven't they stopped the boats? So, what is the Shadow Fleet? What is the Shadow Fleet, Sean? I hear you are shouting. So, the Shadow Fleet, Black Fleet, Dark Fleet, Ghost Fleet. It refers to a large network of hundreds of aging oil tankers, often with opaque ownership, questionable insurance, and deceptive practices, that transport crude oil in violation of Western sanctions. Now, with these ships moving freely, I'm speculating, and this is just me speculating, that they are carrying more than oil, right? Because if these things are going to be doing things illegally, why wouldn't you be taking arms? Why wouldn't you be taking weapons places? Why wouldn't you be taking other contraband if you're doing it anyway, right? These vessels primarily enable exports from sanctioned countries like Russia to fund its war in Ukraine. Iran and Venezuela common tactics include using false, invalid, frequently changed or fictitious flags, registration flags, to evade detection and legal protections under the international maritime law, operating without proper insurance, which raises safety and environmental risks, oil spills, transporting oil above the G7 price cap or in breach of direct export bans. And this is one of the things I talk about on this channel. You know, when we say international law, what does that even mean, guys? Like, literally, what does that mean? Yes, of course, you know, we all want to play by the international rules. We all want to be internationally, you know, we all want to be, we all want to be the good guys, right? But what happens when people just say, yeah, I get your international law that says I have to have X, Y, and Z to transport my oil, but yeah, I'm just not going to do that. Yeah, I'm good. I'm not going to do that. And then everybody else is playing. Can you guys, listen, I am talking about stopping the boats, but can you guys remember the Finder's crispy pancakes, right? This is a good example, right? So can you guys remember the Finder's crispy pancakes in the United Kingdom? There was a scandal that came out that they were using horse meat in them. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with horse meat. It's not dangerous or anything. I can't remember where it was, but there was somewhere, I think it was in Eastern Europe, and they were selling horse meat as beef. You know, you get that slab and you're like, how? I don't know. Just there you go. What I'm getting at here is the Finder's Crispy Pancakes identifies massive problems with international law, right? You have this international law, so everybody, and the laws are there to protect everybody, right? But those countries who don't abide by those laws, they have an advantage. And I'm not talking about hurting anybody here. I'm literally talking about Finder's Crispy Pancakes and shipping oil illegally, right? Because it's literally the same problem, right? It's literally the same problem. So on the Finder's Crispy Pancakes aspects, if these laws and legislations are not being upheld in places like in Eastern European countries where they can have the ability to sell horse meat for beef, and they're making a profit then because they're selling that as beef and they're making loads of money, and nobody's enforcing that law, that puts everybody else at a disadvantage now. So your own laws are disadvantaging you because you're playing by the rules, and everybody else is saying, "Yeah, nice one. I'm gonna break your rules, and you're gonna pay for it." With international shipping, like, what do you do? Like, who do you go to? Like, the Shadow Fleet, the Dark Fleet, the Black Fleet, the Ghost Fleet. You know, these things are putting everybody. So the price at the pump goes up, and other countries around the world are making an absolute, they're making a ton of money. So when people flaunt international law, like, who do you go to? Like, literally, who do you go to? Who do you go to? It's literally ridiculous. Let me continue, guys. Let me continue because I'm talking about the Shadow Fleet. Listen, and if you're on TikTok, if you're on YouTube, if you're on TikTok, I'll be closing you guys down shortly. If you're on YouTube, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, I can't put the chat on. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you guys can see each other's chat on. Do you know what I think it might be? Do you know what I think it might be? Because I'm only streaming on. I don't know. I'll refresh it. I'll refresh it later. Anyway, we're talking about the Dark Fleet or the Ghost Fleet, whatever it is. So we just talked about what the Ghost Fleet is. It's, it's the Ghost Fleet, Shadow Fleet. It's the, it's oil tankers, basically, from sanctioned countries that are taking oil around the world. And I'm going to speculate other things. And they're just doing whatever they want. The UK has already sanctioned more than 500 vessels, viewing them as a key source of revenue for hostile activity. Hostile as, hostile for who? Including Russia's of Ukraine. The fleet has grown significantly since 2022, with more ships recently reflagged to Russia for added protection. Honestly, like, you can see, look how quickly they can change the laws and reinterpret old laws when people are losing a ton of money. So I'm going to talk about do you know what? Am I going to talk about it? I'm going to give you guys a quick synopsis, right? Okay, because I'm not going to give you guys a quick synopsis because it's boring, right? It's just legal jargon, and I do get a little bit fastidious about my legal jargon, my legal frameworks, and my legal networks. What I will say is, I think on the 8th of January, like a couple of days ago, the Defense Secretary in the United Kingdom said the UK actually was stepping up actions on the Shadow Fleet, developing further military options and strengthening coordination, identifying legal pathways to intercept these vessels. Why hasn't that been done on these rubber dinghies, guys? Ladies and gentlemen, why hasn't that been done on these rubber dinghies? So why this matters to the UK? Economic, security, environmental risks, and stuff. We can stop people laundering money. Probably not going through British banks. So that's what I want to focus on today, guys, okay? And I want to keep asking that question. Why haven't we stopped the boats? Literally, why haven't we stopped the boats? Right, let me jump down and get some chat. Let me jump down and get some of the chat. Blow Bubbles. Blow Bubbles is saying, hello, Blow Bubbles, is saying the UK is the bottom of the green bin. I'm seriously thinking about getting out. What does the bottom of the green? I don't know what that means. What does the bottom of the green bin? What does the bottom of the green bin mean? I don't know what that means, guys. Can somebody give me context what bottom of the green bin means? Does it mean, like, I don't know. It's all gone wrong. It's saying this is a worldwide order, unfortunately. Everywhere it is. Literally everywhere is changing. I was not late this morning, guys, because I'm never late. I'm not. Raven ain't never late. I was perfectly on time this morning. The reason I wasn't 5 minutes before, like I normally am, I've just been on a phone call, basically, and the stuff that's happening around the world, the people that are moving really quickly. I'm talking about big companies now. I'm talking about big companies moving assets all over the world. The world is changing right now, guys. It is. And listen, I've said this quite a few times. Be under no illusion how fantastic the times you are living in right now. You are literally living through, like right now, we're living through history. Your children, your grandchildren, they're going to say to you, they're going to say, hey, listen, what did you do in 25, 26, 27, 28? And you're going to tell them stories. You're going to tell them stories how wild it was. Andy Yates is saying crispy pancakes were the McDonald's apple pie of their day, like eating napalm. Okay, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means, Andy. You're going to have to give me more context, mate. So Blow Bubbles is saying another year after the small businesses are gone, you'll be in 100% socialist state if you can get. Yeah, look, guys, I listen, ladies and gentlemen, I've been quite clear to tell people, if you can get out of the United Kingdom, get out now. Last year in the UK, we had 45. I think I did the maths. It was 45.2 millionaires left the UK every day. Think about that. 45.2 millionaire. Let's call it 45, right? Let's just call it 45. 45 millionaires every day left the United Kingdom. And you know what the government said? You know what the government said when they were questioned about it? They said, yes, but this has been offset migration. And I'm like, no. We want to keep the people with money in this country, and the people with no money, I'd say, look, guys, what do you think? Do you think it's better to have in the United Kingdom millionaires who are paying taxes, buying stuff, supporting businesses, supporting themselves? Would you say it's better to have those people? Or would you say it's better to have people in hotels who we are supporting? Because ultimately, at some point, it's all going to come crashing down. I don't see an off-ramp. I do not see an off-ramp right now. I don't see that off-ramp. And when people are saying, oh, Sean, you're defeatist, I'm not defeatist. I'm genuinely being a realist. I don't see an off-ramp. Oh, Band Again is saying AY. I don't know who that is. Andy Young, Adrian Young. Or is he one of those auditors? I think he's one of those auditors. He's saying, okay, right. So Band Again is saying AY, who I think he's one of these auditor guys. Listen, I don't know how I feel about these auditor guys. First of all, I'm not being negative, right? I'm not being negative. I was listening to one of the live streams, right? And at the end of the live stream, I heard them talking, and it was like they were just talking among themselves, and he probably shouldn't have had it still live streaming. And I was just like, I don't know, guys. I don't. Anyway. AY got attacked by 4 geezers last night. He brained 2 of them. They all run DP audits, attacked AY. Are we getting these audit wars now? Is that what we're having? Audit wars where people are fighting? I don't know. I don't know what that means, Band Again. You're going to have to give me more context. Right, I'm just going to jump down because there's quite a lot of stuff on the chat. Top Scotty. Hello, Top Scotty is saying the tsunami is coming. The tsunami that is coming is with AI disruption. Most governments are ill-prepared. Most visionaries expect civil unrest due to job losses and expect some form of universal credit system to be absolutely. Top Scotty, you are top marks for Top Scotty. I think that's why Top Scotty is Top Scotty, because Top Scotty gets top marks. I agree 100%. And we've talked about this quite a lot. I think we're going to have look, and this listen, the crux of this live stream is, I'm trying to think how I can bring this back onto the migrant crisis. You know what? I can. So the crux of this live stream is the British government have just announced that they've found a legal framework to intercept oil tankers that may be transporting contraband oil, right? My question is, why can't they stop the boats? If they can intercept, if they can literally send helicopters, helicopters and special forces to intercept big oil tankers, why are they not stopping the boats? The simple, the broadest answer can be because they don't want to, right? I don't, is there any other answer? Is there literally any other answer that can be, is there any other answer that can be put in there? I don't think so. Top Scotty is talking about universal credit system. I think he's talking about universal basic income. Now, if you know this is coming, right? If you know that this is coming and you know that universal basic income is an inevitability, it makes sense that you pack your country full of as many spenders as you can, because the more people are spending, the more that economy moves, right? Because now, rather than, I don't know, say you've got a country of 100 people, right? And you give them £1,000 a month. Say you've got 100 people and you give them £1,000 a month, right? That's 100 grand moving through your economy. So people are paying tax, people are buying stuff, people are selling stuff, people are going to warehouses, people are employing people, but you've only got 100 grand a month, right, to rotate through. If you've got 1,000 people in your country, you've now got 1 million. You know, your economy has now swelled to £1 million moving through. So now you've got £1 million to play with. You've got £1 million. People can buy more. People can employ more. So the economy, it's all fake. Money's fake, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not pretend that money's a real thing. It's fake. All money is a physical. It's not even physical anymore, is it? Money's not even physical. Money is a storage of time. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's a little bit deep, but money is a storage of time, right? So you put your time into something and you get rewarded financially, right? And your time is communicated by that, you know, those financial things. I know I'm going out there on a limb, but like Top Scott is saying there about AI taking jobs and stuff, it absolutely is. So that could, I think we've got 3 prongs, really. We've got 3 prongs why the, I think anyway, for entertainment purposes, of course, we've got 3 things why I feel migration, it's not even migration, is it? Why these boats have not been stopped. 1, like we're saying here, if the economy does move to a universal basic income, then more spenders will bolster your economy, right? 2, oh, God, I can't do that. So 1 and 2, the second one would be potential conscripts for a war in Ukraine. I'm just throwing it out there. That is a potential, right? I don't think people have taken that off the cards. We've seen how these things operate. And 3, a potential migrant police force. We're already seeing this. We're already seeing this on our streets, whereby a lot of the security guards that are in supermarkets, a lot of security guards that are in a lot of security guards, basically, English isn't their first language. You know, that's the reality, right? A lot of security guards, English isn't their first language. Now, I think that the police are going to have a big shake-up. The police will get to a stage where they say, we can't cope, we can't continue, we need to do something. And what the police will do then is they will say, right, we're going to start to use private security companies. But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry. This is for non-essential jobs to free up our police officers. But over time, you'll get mission creep. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, you fantastic people on TikTok, I am going to close you guys down now. I will continue this live stream over on YouTube. I'm the Real Raven 1 on YouTube. I'm going to continue this live stream maybe for like an hour or like 45 minutes, another hour or whatever. I hope to see you there. I really do. You'll be most welcome. The chat's open, although I can't get the chat on the screen for some reason. I'll have to update the app. But if I don't see you over on, and if you do jump over, guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you are jumping over from TikTok, throw a comment in there. Right, I'm going to close you guys off on TikTok now. I hope. Right, we're off. Let me take that down. Right, sorry guys, I've got loads of stuff to do. I may have to close this down. Galloway Raider is saying money equals beer tokens. Listen, on that note, I think I'm going to start doing some tutorial videos on YouTube, because I make like quite a lot of my own beer and wine and stuff, and it's really easy to make beer. It's really easy to make wine. The price that you pay in the supermarket is phenomenally high, and you don't really get that, and it's not really that good. Like, I make my own beer, for example, and when I drink my own beer, it just tastes so much better than like if you buy a store-bought beer, like a branded beer. So I think I'm going to do tutorials on how to make beer, how to make wine, I may have to do it like as a separate thing. But Galloway Raider, I'm saving you guys money. I'm saving you guys money. Benedict Wayman is saying, I swear they are recruiting them, fishing out potential. I don't know what that means. Look at the barracks in Scotland. So Benedict is saying, Benedict Wayman, I think. Bernadette Wayman, I think that's how you pronounce that name. He's saying, I swear they are recruiting them. Who's them? Who's them? He's saying, I swear they're recruiting them, fishing out potential. Look at the barracks in Scotland. Now back in the day, they recruit from the estates, etc. Now they're grooming them for recruitment, offering a career. Are you talking about migrants? Are you talking about the reason why people put the government are putting migrants in military bases? And Morphos X is saying, you can see what's going to happen. Universal basic income will come with a lot of digital control. It absolutely will, guys. It absolutely will. I was actually on here the other day, and somebody, listen, and look, guys, I absolutely welcome, like, different opinions. Honestly, I do. I genuinely, like, if somebody thinks I'm wrong, I want to talk to that person, and we can talk. And we can, and I want to listen to your point of view, and I want to listen to your perspective. I want to see your perspective. Somebody was on the chat yesterday, or might be the day before, and they were saying that universal basic income is going to be a good thing. Now, I just, I'm hesitant, and maybe I'm cynical, maybe I'm too hesitant, maybe I'm too cynical, and I just don't trust that. The old phrase, ultimate power corrupts ultimately. So what happens if we take, as MorphFX is saying, their full control of citizens? What happens if we all become that poor? We have to take money from the government, and literally everybody's getting by just, and then they say, right, all your firstborn children need to go and do something, whatever. Fill in the blanks. And then you say, well, do you know what? I'm good with that, actually. I don't want my firstborn child going there. And then they say, oh, okay. Well, we're going to turn off all your digital attributes now. So we've turned you off digitally, and we're going to stop the universal basic income coming into your going into your bank account. Can you imagine how easy that would be? Like, when, like in the 1940s, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s in Russia, West Germany, you had to employ a lot of people to crack down on a totalitarian state, right? You did. Now it'll all be done digitally by like maybe 10 people in an office somewhere. So Bandagain is saying migrant cops will never have peace from patriots. But the problem here is, look, like, guys, total hypothetical scenario for entertainment purposes. If those migrant police have the authority to arrest and detain people, you guys can see where that goes, right? Googleinos is saying around 2,000 people transcended to beams of light in Iran protest. Tehran official tells Reuters. So first of all, with what's happening in Iran, guys, let me Google this real quick. I'm going to say this now. I think all facts and figures and numbers coming out of Iran, I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying we should take all facts and figures that are coming out of Iran with a pinch of salt. What? No, it's not what. Yeah, so this is from 3 minutes ago from Sky News. I will share this with you guys. Again, look, even though it's coming out from Sky News, I just think everybody should like take a pinch of salt with this. Right. Well, there's a 30-day Tai Chi plan. Iran at latest, around 2,000 people transcended to a beam of light. Around 2,000 people. Germany says the regime in Iran is now in its final days and weeks. Follow the latest or submit your questions. Yeah, the Iranian regime is over. As it was, right? As it was. I don't know how this is going to affect people in the United Kingdom. In its dying breath, do you think it could activate sleeper cells? You know, I was talking about that last night. I think there's a strong possibility. Michelle Marsh is saying, hey, Michelle, did you jump over from TikTok? Lacey Mario is saying, nice. You can make it in. Oh, right. Okay. Lacey's right. Okay. Earlier I was talking about, I think I was going to start doing tutorials on like making alcoholic beverages. And look, I will jump back on track because we're going off on a bit of a side quest at the moment. Oh, hang on. And Michelle has sent a £2 super. Thank you so much, Michelle, for sending a £2 super. Michelle Marshall, thank you so much. Where was we going with that? Yeah, it's really easy. Literally, all you need to make alcohol is for educational purposes and for entertainment purposes. Literally, all you need is sugar and yeast and water. Literally, that will give you some. It won't taste very nice. In fact, it'll be quite horrible. They used to make it in Russia. Actually, there's a subculture in Russia called gopniks. Gopnik. Are you Gopnik? Yes, I'm Gopnik. They're like, so in Russian culture, Belarusian culture, Ukrainian culture, like in the 90s, they had this like subculture called Gopnik. And they were basically chavs, right? Russian chavs. You know, they're called Gopnik. It's like it's a subculture. Band again is saying, good idea, do it. I want to make mead, but I've been putting it off. Mead is so easy. Literally, like, okay, right, guys, I'm going to do this in standalone videos, okay? I'm going to do this in standalone videos. Right, Jason, is that real? Are you being serious? Already saying they want illegal migrants to be cops in Scotland. I'm going to have to Google this because this is massive. Okay, so AI is telling me the claim that illegal migrants are to become police officers in Scotland is false. Scotland Police has a strict eligibility criteria for all, which includes a requirement to be a legal resident in the United Kingdom for a minimum of 3 years. So where are you getting that from? Right, guys, I'm going to jump down. I'm going to talk about, listen, guys, let's get back on track, okay? Let's jump back on track, okay? Has there just been, listen, and this is the question that I'm asking everybody. So if you're jumping on right now for the first time, this is, I should have a question mark there. This is the question I'm asking everybody. Has there just been a government admission that they can stop the boat, but they won't? Has that just happened? Obviously, I'm talking about the news out on the BBC today that this morning that the government has announced new plans that they can legally stop oil tankers. So and again, this is what we spoke about at the beginning of the video. If the government can legally stop oil tankers, why can't they stop rubber dinghies? Literally, why can't they stop rubber dinghies? So that's what we've been talking about this morning, ladies and gentlemen. The only answer I can give you is because they don't want to. Why? We gave you guys the 3-prong. But let me give you the context of this. So I know some of you people might, I don't know if you're jumping on for the first time, but I just want to give a little bit more context. So hang on. So the UK government have identified a legal, well, they're calling it a legal basis. I like to call this a loophole, right? So the government have identified a legal basis, or as I like to call them, a loophole, under the Sanctions and Money Laundering Act 2018 that they believe gives the military, Royal Navy, Royal Marines, maybe Special Boat Service, the ability to board, inspect, detain vessels belonging to the so-called shadow fleet. And I'll come on to that, what the shadow fleet is in a second. So, like I said at the beginning, my question to you guys is, if the government can very quickly reinterpret laws, find loopholes where they can use the military to stop oil tankers, why haven't they done that already? You know, why haven't they done that with these boat migrants? Why haven't they done that with these boats that are coming over from France? I said this long ago. Like, I mean, you don't even need to reinterpret legal legislation. So under international law, right? Maritime law, sorry. Under maritime law, and I'll check this in a second on AI. My understanding, for entertainment purposes, allegedly, my understanding of maritime law is any vessel can tow any vessel in distress back to the nearest shoreline, right? Obviously, if you're in a ship, right, and you see a load of people in a rubber dinghy, and after their ship has just sank and they're in distress and they're like ladling water out, or they're in a life raft, whatever, you know, and you go out there and you intercept them and you say, hey guys, you know, what's happened? And they say, oh God, we was on this ship and it sank and, you know, we're the survivors. You're literally, like, you're not going to say, right, where does everybody live? And well, I'll drop you off. You're not going to do that, are you? You're literally going to tow them back to the nearest shoreline, right? That's under maritime. And under maritime law, you're allowed to do that. So if you're like, I don't know, if you're South Africa and somebody comes into your shores with a boat and they're towing, you know, they're literally towing a rubber dinghy, and they're like, yeah, these guys are in distress. They're like, oh yeah, bring them in. Oh, right, okay, we've got them. That's where it's from, right? So under existing maritime law, that's already there. That framework's already there, right? Tell me I'm wrong. So think about this now. In the English Channel, you've got these rubber dinghies heading towards you. Those rubber dinghies, as soon as they get in the water, they're in distress because they're not seaworthy, right? They're not seaworthy. So under that legal framework, you don't even have to reinterpret it. Under that legal framework, allegedly for entertainment purposes, you can go out, you can intercept, and you can tow them back to the nearest shoreline, i.e. France. You do that once, you do it twice, you do it 3 times, the boat migrants stop. They're like, yeah, it's pointless. Literally, it's pointless doing it now. So why hasn't that been done? Literally, why hasn't that been done? So do you think things are going to get better, or do you think things are going to get worse? I would speculate the migrant crisis is not going to stop. It's going to continue. Because if it was going to stop, it would have been stopped already. They're my thoughts. What do you think? Bernadette Wainman is saying, must be a loophole law. They can't be turned back. Listen, Benedict, Bernadetta, is that it right? Bernadetta, can I call you Bernie? Can I call you Bernie, please? If you've been following my videos, if you've been following my live streams, we've been documenting strong evidence that the government of the United Kingdom are involved, in this, that the government of the United Kingdom are involved. What is the evidence I've got for that? Well, first of all, we've seen videos by what's his name, Chris Phillips. He's an MP, right? He's an MP, and he's been out on the English Channel, and he's been documenting this thing. And one of the things he shared on, openly available information, he shared a conversation, and I called this months before it happened. I said, what's happening with those life jackets, right? Because I've tried to buy things at scale, like you can go to like a camping shop, right? And you can buy a sleeping bag for like, I don't know, 50 quid, whatever, 50 quid. If you go to like Berghaus or that company and you say, mate, I need 10,000 sleeping bags, they will say, yeah, I can't sell them you for 50 quid. I've got to sell them you for a lot more because they have to upscale production. Anyway, sorry. So I understand the problems at buying things at scale. There's logistical problems, right? And I was like, what's happening with these sleeping bags? I've not had enough coffee. What's happening with these life jackets? Got there in the end. What's happening with these life jackets? Because you would think, right, that when those migrants with the life jackets, when they came over to the United Kingdom, you would think they were burnt, right? You think they were just disposed of, right? And I actually found the legal loophole that they're using. It's all about loopholes. So anyway, sorry, I'm off on a sidetrack. Anyway, he went out and there's a conversation basically between the French escorting vessels and the RNLI, and they're literally just talking on open radio. Hey guys, yeah, we've got, I've handed you 47 life jackets or whatever. Can you give me 47 back? And he's like, yeah, confirm 47 life jackets. And he's like, yeah, 47 life jackets. No, hang on. I've got to look at Googleinos' comment. Sorry, and I'll come back onto that. Four oil tankers attacked by drones near the Black Sea loading terminal. Okay, so, all right, okay, let's have a look at this. I can't find anything. Right, where are you getting that from? 4 oil tankers attacked by drones. Right, let me check X. I can't find anything on the I can't find, there's nothing. Where are you getting that from? I'm not getting, there's no results on this, like recently. I don't know where that's coming from. I'm getting no results from that. Is that what we were talking about? Right, okay. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. I'm trying to find this. Okay. Right. Okay. I've got this. All right. Okay, I think I've got it. Right, I think I've got it. Listen, guys, if you're on, I do apologize. For some reason, I can't get the chat up. I'll have to update my app or something. So we've got this from 14 minutes ago. Russia-Ukraine war latest. The Putin launches major assault after Russia launches major assault on Ukraine's two largest cities. So that would be Kiev and Lviv, I believe. So at least 4 people have died in Russia's most intense aerial bombardment of Kiev so far this year, with major strikes targeting, Kharkiv is bigger actually, Kiev and Kharkiv overnight, or Kharkiv as they pronounce it. Kiev experienced power cuts due to the assault, while the strikes on Kharkiv hit infrastructure targets that included a postal terminal. Dozens of people were pulled to safety by rescuers. Smaller scale attacks were also reported in Odessa and central Kiev region. In total, Russia fired at least 293 drones. And when people, I think I'm going to have to come on midday and do a Ukraine update. Having the capacity to fire 209. So we're talking about these type of drones now. These ones, fixed wing. That capacity, that's a huge industrial capacity, because those things don't go back. You can't reuse them. And to be able to produce those at that scale, and it's not really the wings. It's the motors. It's those motors. So I'm going to assume, and I don't know what the answer is, that it will be a varied answer. They will have either 2-stroke atmospheric combustion engines or 4-stroke atmospheric combustion engines. Now, having the ability to produce those at that scale, think about all the, and again, I know I'm going down the logistics of it. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, I give you guys such granular answers, because I know all the phases of this war. It's all right. The defense minister saying, we're going to invest this much money in drones. Where are you going to get the engines from? There's only so many engines you can produce. And you can't just, you can, but it takes time to produce more engines. So think about all the moving parts, right, in an engine. I'd say at minimum, this needs to be like a 50cc engine. A bare minimum, you're looking like a 50cc engine. So think about all the moving parts in that engine. Think about all the things that have to be put together. Think about the lines from the fuel, from the exhaust. There's a lot of stuff in those engines. And every time they fire one of those drones, that engine gets destroyed. And at this scale, it's quite impressive. We couldn't do this in the United Kingdom. We couldn't do this. We've got, I think in Reading, is it Reading? It might not be Reading. There's always pro-Palestinian protesters outside. We build rotary engines in the United. This might be a rotary engine, actually. Rotary engine. I'm not going to go into engines. But what I'm getting at here is, there's a lot of moving parts there's a lot of moving parts with drones. And the fact that the Russians can produce them at this scale shows you the industrialization of this conflict. CAD will be spitting them out faster than they can use them up. I don't know. 4 oil tankers are being attacked near a loading terminal, major pipeline in the Black Sea. Right, listen, guys, there's a lot happening today. There is a lot happening today. I think I'm going to have to come on and do another live stream. I am, because we are going, I want this live stream to be, listen, guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back on at 1. I am. I'll come back on at 1, and we're going to give a Ukraine update, because I want to keep this live stream talking about, has there just been a government admission that they could stop the boats if they wanted, but they're not. And I'm putting it to you guys that the migrant crisis in the United Kingdom will get worse. It's going to stop at some point. It's inevitable. It will stop at some point. and this obviously comes from the news that's been out in the mainstream today, that the United Kingdom can legally stop the shadow fleet of tankers. And this is from what the ministers have said. And my question is, and I always say this, you know, because I've seen this at government level, right? I've seen it at a government level where they've said, right, we need to do this. Yeah, but that's illegal. And then they go, well, let's have a look what the law actually says. And then they just, like, you know, they find a loophole. They reinterpret another law that reinterprets another law and gives them the ability to do something. So my simple question to everyone right now, and I'm going to leave it here because I'm going to be jumping back on at 1. I've set it down now, guys. I'll be back on at 1. If the government can find these legal basis or loopholes to board and detain oil tankers, why can't they find some sort of legal framework to stop the boats? You know, we've been screaming out for that in the United Kingdom. We really have. We've been absolutely screaming out for it in the United Kingdom. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to close this down now. Cindy's saying the people of Chagos have asked President Trump to help keep the island British, and they've promised to rename the island after him. Loads of stuff happening around the world, guys. It's all gone absolutely crackers. Kev Mills is saying China might take 7 million cars a day, but they can't make enough people to drive them. US citizens have been warned to leave Iran immediately. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to close this down now. There's a lot of stuff happening. I'll be back on at 1. I've literally got to go to the store and get some other stuff, but set your calendars, guys. Set a reminder. I'm going to be back on at 1. I'm putting it out there. I'll be back on at 1, and we're going to give an update on what's happening in Ukraine right now. We're going to try and get some ground truth. I'll be talking to my friend as I'm driving, and on hands-free, of course, when it's safe and legal to do so. But anyway, guys, I'll be back on at 1. Make sure, if you've not done so, please like, comment, subscribe, share my stuff on your socials. That really helps me out. And I will bid you good morning, but I'll be back at 1. Did I say 1? Yeah, I'll be back at 1. Maybe 12. Maybe 12. Guys, am I going to be back at 1 or 12? I said 1. I'll be back at 1. I will. I'll be back at 1. Definitely 1. If I can, 12. If not, 1.